Welcome to today's presentation. My name is Anna McCormick. Some of you may recognise me as I have been with MYOB for 14 years, or almost 14 years, and I have travelled throughout New Zealand visiting accountancy practices and also presenting and attending some of our events, such as Insight in various locations around New Zealand. So some of you may recognise me. My role is a connected practice consultant. And what does that mean? Well, that means that I work with practices to showcase to them our software and how it can really help them to be efficient and also keep up with technology and utilise it as best as possible. Just recently, I've been working very closely with firms on what their current workflows are and how these could be tweaked to gain even more efficiencies in the future. And this really leads into process efficiencies. That when you can tweak and gain process efficiencies in your core compliance bread and butter revenue lines, it will help to improve your margins. So firms with revenue of less than 500k, around about 67%, this is from a survey, of your revenue comes from compliance. When I talk with practices, some say that it's 70%, some say it's 80%, but you seem to all be very much in that ballpark. There are very few firms that have less than 50% of their revenue coming from compliance. There are a few, but not many. But how can you achieve efficiencies? Well, it's really all about streamlining your processes and removing the reliance on manual work and utilising the software and the technology that is available today to really get the data processed through as efficiently as possible. And that hopefully will allow you time to be able to diversify your revenues. Research done by the Good, the Bad and the Ugly survey, they have found over the years that looking at efficiency of processes really is been one of those challenges that practices have had. And that is part of the reason that my role and the other people that are in the same role, we have been created by MYOB to really work closely with practices in refining their processes to gain those efficiencies. But today we are really here to concentrate on client accounting and the compliance. So here at MYOB, we do have a bold vision for the future. We look at the three core elements of an accountancy practice: the transaction processing, the compliance, and the advisory that you do for your clients. And we really think about these and how we can enhance and streamline each of these processes. So you may already be using software for your clients where you are able to automate the transaction processing using rules. And that is really streamlining that transaction processing and creating that efficiently. Some of you have started to use our client accounting Workpapers module, and hopefully you are finding that that is really streamlining your processes as well. And what we're talking about today is moving to the next step to start to use the MYOB client accounting module in that compliance area really more actively and gaining even more efficiencies. And hopefully gaining those efficiencies will free up more time for you to do that advisory work and really help your clients' businesses to succeed. In the past, these three streams of work tended to be consecutive. So you do your transaction processing, normally around GST time or perhaps at the end of the year, and then you did the compliance at the end of the year. And once you had all of the data and the compliance, then you did advisory. And that's quite typical if you think about 5 years ago. But with the advent of digital and technology, these processes are becoming more and more intertwined and more streamlined, which means that you can work and give advice in more real time. And I know that a lot of practices like to do meetings with their clients regularly to give those advice, normally in line with GST, but not always there. And just a reminder of our client accounting strategy or concept. So the tools that you use in your practice for your compliance work, the Workpapers, the Statutory Reporter, and the assets, these tools have been released in our new accountant's office, and that's what you're going to see in a moment. From the MYOB business products, so MYOB Essentials and MYOB Account Right, both of those have lots of different features and lots of different flavors of each of those modules, depending on what features your clients need. But from those MYOB business products, we have a direct connection to pull data into the Workpapers trial balance area. And once you have gone through the compliance work, the ability to post any journals, adjusting journals that you have done as part of your compliance work, post those journals with 3 clicks of the mouse back to the MYOB products. So really efficient way of working, just having one copy of the data. But we're also realistic here at MYOB, and not all of your clients are going to be MYOB clients. You are going to have clients that use other systems. Maybe it's because of industry requirements, or it might be personal preference, or it's something that they've always used. And so that is why in April this year, we released the new ledger. We have a migration from your AO Classic or your MAS files into this new ledger. So that brings across historical data. Once that historical data is in Ledger, you can then import the current year's data from the data source that the client is using. So let's say they're using QuickBooks or Xero, you'd export the data from that system and import it into Ledger. Once the data is in Ledger, you then have that same consistent, streamlined tools in your practice, the Workpapers, the Statutory Reporter, and the assets. And this is even further enhanced for those of you that adopt MYOB Document Manager for managing all of the documents that you receive from your clients, such as source documents, and also the documents that you send to your clients, such as your financial reports or tax returns, or engagement letters even. So we've got integration between our modules, between all of our modules there. Some of you I see in our database have started to use the MYOB live services, so the portal and the dashboard. The portal is sharing of documents between your practice and your clients. And the dashboard is an interface to be able to access all of those MYOB online files. So your MYOB Essentials and your MYOB Account Right. And the dashboard has some of the DNA of BankLink built into it. So it's got that familiar interface and familiar interactions, but it is live, it's in the cloud. We did time and motion studies. When we looked at different practices, we found that there were 14 fairly typical steps in a compliance job or a compliance workflow. And the grey bars on the screen are representing the relative duration. Now, some of you might not do Workpapers at all, so therefore steps 3 and 4 would be eliminated from this. You might want to consider doing Workpapers though to review those the correctness of the data. But when you think about all of these different 14 steps, there are lots of duplication of effort and data touching and moving around. In Australia, they've actually had this new client accounting for 3 years, or they've just started on their 3rd year, some practices. And so we've gone back and we've reviewed the work that those practices are doing now. And what we've found is that there are 6 different steps that are potentially eliminated. And for those that are using the Workpapers, then those steps are basically halved. So the creation of the Workpapers using the Rollover takes half the time. And the actual data entry and the completion of the Workpapers is about half the time there. The review stages are, you still need to review and have that peer review, make sure things are correct. So those are pretty much the same time frame. But up to a 40% time savings when you are using MYOB client accounting in conjunction with MYOB products, in conjunction with MYOB Document Manager and Portal as well. But even if we were to save your practice 10% of time in a compliance job, what could you do with that time? Does it mean that you get to go home earlier? Does it mean that you get to do different work for the same clients? Or does it mean that you get to do work for new clients that come into your practice and have that capacity available? That choice is yours as to what you do with that time. So let's drill into the software and actually take a look. So here we have the new Accountant's Office. And I know that a lot of you that are on today's showcase are already using the new look and feel of the Accountant's Office with the blue icons across the top and the left-hand side for navigation and things like that. But for those of you that aren't using the new MYOB interface, then this is it. And I guess from a change perspective, you need to be ready to embrace the change. Getting used to a new software program does take time, but we have tried to reduce the clicks that you need to do to access different parts of the software. I've actually already got 3 different clients open here today. So I've got TUI and Stolly, Alpha Bravo Charlie, and another company limited. And I can jump between these clients just by clicking on the tab. So if you're working with a group of clients and you're needing to access different aspects of those clients, you can have all of them open and then jump between them as you need to. Within a client, you have a tabular nature to access the different components of that client. The tabs that you see will be determined by what you have subscribed to with your client manager. So for those of you that just have client accounting, you'll have fewer tabs than those of you that have all of our modules. You will see all of the tabs like I have there. This first client, another company limited, they are on their client accounting tab. Over here on my right hand side, I can see that their ledger type is an AO Classic General Ledger. I can see the date range. Apologies that my data is a little bit in the past, but I can see the date range there of this particular ledger. And what I have in the middle of the screen is the years of my Workpapers that I've created so far. And down my left hand side, the ability to be able to launch the AO Classic GL, or for mass users, this would be launch mass. To be able to set up those configurations, it's really easy. It's probably a 5-second job when you first are moving over to the new client accounting. Selecting the appropriate product from the drop-down list. Remember that we had a direct connection between the client accounting and the MYOB Essentials and Account Right products. So we've got those products in this drop-down, that common ledger where you and the client are working on the common ledger. Today though, I am going to focus on the move from AO Classic or Mass into the new ledger and using the tools across that new ledger. So this connection to AO Classic or Mass is our first point of call there. Once you have connected, then to migrate to the new ledger after you've had your training and it's been turned on for you, this migrate to the new ledger takes a copy of 5 years of data and transactions for the most recent year, takes a copy of that data from AO Classic or MAS into the new ledger. So you're able to run trend reports if you wish for the clients. You just need to double check the entity type. This can be changed later if you need to. And confirm the system accounts. These are normally correct, but just make sure that they are and click OK. And that conversion itself takes about 2 minutes to bring all of that data across. I'm just going to come across to a client that I prepared earlier. So this client has already been migrated to AO Ledger, and I've actually been doing some demos with this client. So they've already got some data in here. So here we've already migrated the data across. What I need to do now is I need to make sure that we have we're going to import the current year's data, and we're also going to add the current year. Doesn't matter which order you do these in, you can do it in either order. So let's first off import client data. And remember, when you are connecting to MYOB products, this step you don't need to do. So this step you can do in AO Classic and MAS as well, but it is select the appropriate file type, 3 to choose from there. I'm going to use MYE today. Browse for the data that the client has provided to you, and you can bring in 1 month, 2 months, 5 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever data range that you wish. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring through my February data for this example. Now this wizard, the first time I saw it, I thought it was really magical, because what it does is it looks at the chart of accounts and magically suggests relevant codes in your chart. And it remembers automatically. So there's no need to go and find the template you used last year for this client or last time. It just remembers what you did last time for this client. The software just being intuitive there. So a lot of my accounts I have already pre-mapped because I've done previous demos. So lots of mine have got green ticks here. I do have one which is in cost of sales from memory, other. So it's given me some suggestions. And I've got one account that's called other, probably not the one I'm after. But what I can do is I can actually view all of my accounts. I can sort these in numerical or description order. And I can also search. So I'm going to search for purchases in my cost of sales area there. So I'm going to map that one. You do have the ability also in here, if you need to, you can add an account to your ledger. Next, and finish to import that data. So 90 transactions and 17 accounts have been imported. And that code, that other code that I have matched to my purchases cost of sales area, that will be remembered for the next time that I import data for this client. For those of you that are doing work papers, many practices do Excel-based work papers. Our work papers is software. But what I'm going to show you now is our rollover. So think about, in your practice, how do you create the new year's set of work papers? What steps do you need to go through? What I'm doing here is I am creating my 2018 set of work papers, and I'm going to roll from my 2017 year. What this rollover does is it looks at last year and copies all of the work paper templates that I said to roll forward to the following year. It then moves data if required. So closing balances move to opening balances. It also removes and purges data. So for instance, your interest received work paper, that work paper, the banks that you get the interest from are generally the same year to year, but the amounts are different. So let's look at my interest received work paper. In a moment. Before I do that, this trial balance. Now, some of you are already using this, and I know that. But this trial balance shows the movements, the year-to-date client balance that's in the ledger, debits and credit columns for any adjustments that you are doing as part of this set of accounts, and then what is the final balance or the final position. The flags on the far side, the little clock icons and the red flags, are indicating that there's a variance in that particular work paper that we need to have a look at and just double check. So let's drill in on the interest received. Oh, sorry, it's popped off the side, which just reminds me that our work papers and the individual worksheets do open in separate windows. So another efficiency is using 2 or 3 screens. Really is something, if you're not using those at the moment, really do think about introducing a second or a third screen. But our interest received work paper, it's kept the names of the banks that we've received interest from in the prior year, but our gross interest and resident withholding tax have been removed and all been purged out because they're different year to year. We've got a red flag indicating that we're variance, and what we're doing is we're comparing to the almost $6 balance in the interest received account. Now, hopefully you have received an interest document, source document from your client. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually searching in Document Manager, which is integrated, for that interest statement. Now, it could be an individual file like I've got here, or it could be just a one page in amongst 20 other pages that you've scanned. The system will do either for you. So interest statement, attach. This one I'm going to say is BNZ interest statement. So now what I have is I've got the description on my D1 cross-reference, and I can actually move that interest statement up to the BNZ line. And when I I can view that document, and this is great for reviewers as well, you can see that document, pop it up on the other screen or on the other half of this screen, and then type in the interest amounts from that interest statement. Same with the ANZ. Type in the interest there of the documentation. What you'll see that the net interest column, the resident withholding tax percentage, they have been calculated. I haven't entered those in. So the system is using the data to calculate, and that can be a little cross-reference for you as well. All of our work papers have the ability to add notes to them, and you can add multiple notes if you need to just by pressing enter. So that's looking at our work paper. If you need to do a journal, you can add a journal. So if you needed to move some of that interest received through to bank charges because they've put it in the wrong place, then you can do so. So add journal either on the accounts that are linked in or from the top of the screen. So let's click OK and save that one. The other work paper that I want to show you is one that is available to every practice that takes the client accounting, whether you take it with or without work papers. It's available for every client that is using our client accounting. There's three: assets reconciliation, an IR10 integration, and a livestock work paper. So what the assets reconciliation work paper is doing is it's looking at what is the balance in the general ledger, what is the balance in the assets register, and where are their variances. So here we've got some variances in accumulated depreciation and the closing written down value. And that is because as of the moment, I haven't yet posted any of my depreciation there. So I've actually got a $3,235 variance here in this work paper. So, okay, let's now go and have a look at assets and see how that integrates. So this integration aspect is similar but different to how the assets module in AO Classic and also AMS work. I can have multiple years open. So if I needed to do a future asset valuation, what I can do is just add in those years and put them and then run a depreciation report for those years. Today though, I'm working on my 2018, so let's drill in on 2018. In grids like this, we have lots of ability to group and filter and sort. So if I put my control group back in there, I just get a list. I can sort these by any column. I can sort them by the start date or whatever it is that I need to, by the opening written down value there. But we can use groupings to make it, well, in my opinion, more manageable from a grouping perspective, and it also gives little subtotals. We can also filter. So if you're just wanting to look at one particular group of assets, so furniture and fittings, for instance, then you can filter as well. If you need to add an asset, just go through the wizard and add the asset in. Put it into the right control group. There are some mandatory fields. I'm going to make a Mazda car, put it into motor vehicles, click next and fill in the details there. I'm not going to continue with that one. I'm just going to cancel out of that particular screen. What I want to do now is, let's just say I have my assets register all up to date. I've sold any assets that the client's disposed of during the year, and I have created any new assets that they've purchased in the appropriate control groups. So I'm going to submit my journals back into that trial balance area. So 1, 2, 3 clicks of the mouse. I guess that's a similar process to the AO Classic posting a journals process there. Do have some draft reports available in the assets module as well. So if you want to run a draft tax schedule or journal summary, then you can. But those reports for the depreciation schedule are automatically included in the statutory reporting stream. I don't have mine set up, but accounting depreciation can be activated if you need both taxation and accounting depreciation schedules for your client. So I've posted that journal. So let's go back and have a look at the trial balance and the assets work paper again. Let's drill in and open that assets reconciliation. Make sure that the data is refreshed, and you'll see that all of my variants for accumulated depreciation and written down value have all gone back to 0 because I had my data all right, all correct. And we've also got our depreciation showing on the ledger side as well as the asset side. If you need to, there is the ability to refresh assets data, so you can have both screens open at the same time if you need to. If I come down, here are our journals for depreciation codes there. I can see all of my journals, which in my case is my balance forward journal and my assets depreciation journal. And I can post those journals with 3 clicks of the mouse back to the ledger. So I'm going to click yes. So that's 2 clicks. Completed successfully. There it is. 3 clicks of the mouse to post those journals back. You can do that at any stage during the job. You can do it as a batch process. You can do it at the end of the job, whatever suits you. Now the statutory reporter. Now this is really, really cool. So what we have is all of the relevant sections of these reports have been pre-ticked by the software based on where the balances are falling in the reporting groups area. So every code has been put into a reporting group, and those reporting groups then trigger sections of the report to print. And it's also based on what you have filled in the non-transactional data. The non-transactional data, think about description file maintenance for AO Classic users. Where we can, we will pull information from the underlying database. So the fact that the client is registered or not registered for GST comes from our tax module. So we've got integration between the modules. You only need to fill in the data once and it will flow. The same with your directors. So if you have your directors and your shareholders set up on the associations tab, which those of you that are using tax and tax manager, you probably will have those set up, then those details will automatically flow in, the name. But you need to come in here and tick whether they're a signatory, whether to include them, the director sign date and their remuneration, just so that those fields, because the database doesn't know that data. So where we can, we've minimised data entry. Let's preview these reports and show you what they look like. So it takes a few seconds, probably about 10 seconds to preview the reports. So these are our reports, and again they preview in a separate window, so you can move it off onto that other screen. If I scroll down, AO Classic sites especially love this, the fact that the contents page prints at the start of the reports rather than at the end. I can click onto any page number and it will jump me down to that page. I can then click on the dollar figures to be able to open up the different reporting groups and see the individual codes that are in those reporting groups. Back on that Workpapers trial balance screen, you can actually right click and view transactions that are in the common ledger file or that are in the ledger file, whichever you're using for this client. So again, 2 screens, a great efficiency. You can have the trial balance open, interrogate the transactions if you need to, after looking and just tracing back which accounts it is that are being displayed. If something is in the wrong spot, so I don't have any that are obvious there, but let's say we wanted to move a code like power and heating, maybe it isn't meant to be part of direct cost of sales, I can actually reallocate while I'm in the preview that into a more appropriate expense category. So all I need to do is go and I can search for the expense. I've got all my farming ones there. Let's just expand out. And then I've got my other expenses. Maybe that one needed to be part of admin expenses, for instance, rather than direct cost of sales. Let's cancel out of those screens and won't make any changes. Scrolling through, if you wish to group expenses, such as those admin expenses, here I've got them grouped. So I've got a one-liner, but that dollar figure for admin expenses, it actually contains multiple codes. And I've actually dragged and dropped a few in there. So you can display those as a one-liner or as a separate section when you set up those different expense groups. Coming down, and I want to just scroll through to the notes to the accounts. So in the notes to the accounts, you're reading through any of these paragraphs and you see something that you need to change. Think about how you change this in Reporter or in AO Classic Reports. In here, I can just type as I need to. There is a spell checker as well, so you can double check your spelling. We've got the ability to bring in names of groups. So you've got these reporting groups. So maybe I may want to bring in my cash and cash equivalents name and the dollar value for that same group. So cash and cash equivalents for the current year, because that was important in this particular sentence. Also, non-transactional data, such as nature of business, there's a search in here as well, can be imported or can be used as a merge field. You can use your keyboard to select the fields. And you can even put them in different colours so that they pop on the page. Make it bold. Control B also works on this screen for making things bold. Copy paste is another area that works. So if I was to, for instance, it doesn't have to be from within Reporter, it could be from anywhere, copy and paste. Click OK and this note will update. So what I've done here is I've made a client level change to that particular note paragraph. So there we are, edit as needed. It's got the name of the cash and cash equivalents reporting group. It's got the balance out of that reporting group and it's got manufacturing widgets for all those merge fields that were brought through. So that's a client level change. You can make changes at practice level, and when we update the MYOB masters, we won't delete or change your practice level paragraphs or your client level paragraphs. But if you needed to, you can restore the default content and it will go back up the level. So for this paragraph, company special purpose, note 1, company special purpose, if I'd made a practice level change to that particular paragraph, it will take me back to practice level. If there was no edit at practice level, it would be using the MYOB master. What about the look and feel of these reports? So at the moment, my headings are left justified. They're in a dark blue. Unfortunately, my underline is going through my logo there, and we are just in what we call sentence case. I'm just coming up to somewhere where hopefully I've got a negative sign or some totals. Here we are, we've got some negatives in here. So in my balance sheet, I've got some negatives and they're being displayed in brackets, and we've got underlines that go right across the page. These are to do with our style set. So the style set determines the size of the font, the color of the font, the underlines, the negatives. At the moment, I'm using style set number 8. So MYOB, we supply 8 different style sets. And I'm going to change from style set 8 to 2. What most practices are doing is that they are picking one of those style sets that's pretty close to what they want from a look and feel, their branding. They might then create their own, clone that to create their own style set and maybe tweak it. And they might make their headings a different color or something like that. And the other thing that practices are doing is that they, at practice level, they are selecting a font that is their font, what they wish to use for their clients. I'm going to just come up to A's and use Arial today. Also in here is where you can change things like your watermarks. Mine says edit as needed. So we've got 3 commonly used watermarks under the drop down: draft, confidential, and do not copy. But I can change as required. I can change the color. I can change the font and the orientation around the center of the page. And I can also display it on particular pages. So this is quite familiar because it's similar to other software programs that you're already using. Your logo, again, you can decide or go and find your logo and where you're going to put it on the page, and then specify which page or pages you're displaying your logo on, and doing it in one place. And I know adding logos in Reporter and also in AO Classic Reports was actually quite time consuming there. But in this new system, really easy. And most practices are doing that once at practice level for all of their clients. So let's just come through. Actually, I'll go through to the balance sheet because that's where we were before. So our heading is now centered, still in that sentence case. Our underlines are now for each column. Our negatives are the same, but the font has changed slightly there. So back in the Workpapers area, there is an approvals process so that the reviewer can tick off each of those Workpaper templates and mark them as being approved on the screen. If you need to, you can still print. We're not eliminating that, but we're trying to reduce our paper footprint by enabling practices to be able to do a lot more on screen. But let's just say these sets of accounts have now been finalised for the client and we're ready to give them to the client. Printing. So printing is still available. Clients coming in to see you, printing the report and putting it into a bound copy totally makes sense. We also have the ability to export and save these reports. PDF's the default, but Word and Excel are also available, and save them anywhere that you need to on your network. The next button is to do with emailing. But what we are finding is that this email is actually being used less and less because of the advent of the MYOB portal. So the MYOB portal is under the Share It button. The Share It button is Save to Document Manager if you have Document Manager. So I do, so I'm just going to quickly save this into my Business Services 2018 financial reports. So that's our record in our Document Manager system in the practice. And I'm going to say yes, save this or share this to the client's portal. So a lot of practices are using the portals as a secure place in the cloud for clients to receive documents, digitally sign them, and also share documents back with you. So here we are. We're publishing this to Alpha Bravo Charlie portal. The client is Tui and Stolly Company Limited, or Company Pre-Sales. Our name of our financial report. I'm going to tag this so that the client can easily find this report in the future. And I could just publish this report. Some practices are doing that for historical tax returns and historical reports so that the client has a copy in their portal. But the portal can be used for more than just financials. It could be used for your engagement letters. It could be used for your tax returns. It could be used for sending uncoded reports through to your clients. And we really are building out this portal to be really embedded into the processes. When you ask for a signature, it drops down the rest of the forms in this website. So Sam Johnson and Mrs. Client are full access members of Alpha Bravo Charlie portal. So they can both see everything that has been shared, every task that is in that portal. They can only see them in Alpha Bravo Charlie, but they can see everything. Whereas a contributor can only see items that have been shared with them. So for instance, a bank manager, you might share the financial reports, but you don't share your engagement letter, for instance. I'm going to get Sam to sign these sets of reports today. I'm going to send them as myself, but if you can change that. So if you've got somebody else sending on your behalf, then you can change that name. And you can also select who to notify. So at the moment it's defaulting to notify myself, but perhaps somebody else files tax returns or does the tax return when these reports are completed, or does the company office work, then you can add someone else to notify as well. The task, which is the subject of the emails as well, please approve as soon as possible. So we're going to go, Dear Sam. Now you can copy and paste in here, and we are working on putting some embedded templates into this area. It's something that is a work in progress at the moment with our development team. So at the moment I'm just typing, oops, too many N's in my name, typing in a brief message there. Basically it's your instructions. Now when would you like this return? I'm going to say Friday next week. I want these returned, and basically that's from a follow-up of the task, and the task is part of your collaboration and internal collaboration with your team members about what tasks are on the go and need to be followed up. So as the accountant, I'm publishing that set of financials. Now this is to the client's portal. This is just one way of publishing to the portal. There are several ways of doing it. You can do it from within your tax preparation module. You can do it from the Documents tab. There's several different ways that you can publish to the portal. This screen is the practices view of all of the documents that have been sent to the clients. So you can search for a client's name. So if I can spell TUI installer, you can search for the client's names in there. You can search for uploaded by, so staff members' login details, and you can also filter by the different tags. So you can limit those there. But what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to become Sam. So I'm going to change and become Sam. Now Sam on his phone has received an email with the subject that you wrote in there. Please approve as soon as possible. Remember that on the phone the screens are a lot smaller, so what we've actually done is we've put a big black button on these emails to make it really easy for Sam to be able to log in and see what you've asked him to do. So Sam clicks on the view task. When Sam's on his phone, the screens, he'll get the sign-in screen, and MYOB clients, such as your Essentials or your Account Right Live clients, they already have an MYOB account, an email and password to log in. So it makes sense for them to use that same login details. But any unique email address can be used to sign up for an MYOB account, even your clients that are using competitor software. The other thing that we've done is we've integrated with Google Plus or G Plus, because we deemed that the verification is strong to identify the person, that they are who they say they are. You'll never find Facebook though on that login screen. We don't deem Facebook to be a secure identifier of the person that's logging in. When Sam's on his phone, he just sees the right-hand panel because those screens are a lot smaller. He can still navigate to see all of the open tasks which are in the middle, and he can also navigate and see all of the different portals that you've invited him to. So he might be a director of 3 different companies, and he might also have his own individual portal for his own individual documents. But on his phone, he sees just each of those in individual areas. At the moment, Sam can't reject or approve this document. Sam can send you a question and send that comment. And Sam can also attach documents. So perhaps your question is that you need a source document. He can use his phone to attach that from his photos, or his laptop to attach that document from whatever he's got saved on his computer. Me, the accountant, will be notified of that question that Sam sent in a moment in my emails, and it's also tracked in the task. But before Sam can approve these financials, Sam must open the financials. So here they are. These are the financials that we've created today as part of the showcase. Note at the moment, the bottom of each page is blank. We don't yet have any signature or digital signature. Now that Sam has opened the document, reject and approved are activated. And Sam can approve those documents. If you had any questions, he could type you a question on that screen. But when Sam approves, he says he is a document signatory or is authorised to sign. He's said that he's kept his password secure, and he's also said that he's read these documents and checked that they are authentic and accurate. So his login identifies him, and then he is doing that double level of approval. And that task has now gone from Sam's to-do list in the portal. Sam can see all of the documents, and I use Sam a lot, so Sam's got quite a few financial reports in here. But Sam can see all of the documents that have been uploaded or shared with him, and he can click in and he can see those documents, he can view those documents and download them if he wishes to. He can see them all there. And what you'll see, even in Sam's copy, it is showing the digital signature. Back in the practice's copy of that document, so I'm back in the practice view now, so I'm now Anna again, I'm no longer Sam. So back in the practice's view, I can see that document signature as well on the bottom of each page. The digital signature is actually technology in behind all of this, but this signature on the bottom of each page is your visual and the client's visual that they've signed and approved it and who has. So if I'd asked for 2 people to sign this document, this signature strapline only appears once the second person has digitally signed. So that's something, if you need 2 signatures on a document, then it only is completed and populated with the strapline once the second signature has been applied. And what about back in Document Manager? Because remember, I've got Document Manager, so I shared this to the Document Manager as well. So let's search. So that top line that I've got highlighted in blue, that's today's financial report. You can see that at the moment it's got a black cloud on it. So that black cloud is a visual indicator in Document Manager that it's been published to the client's portal. Now our servers take about 30 minutes to do a cycle, but automatically within about that 20-30 minutes, this icon, it will change to be a green pen, and that is showing that it's digitally signed and is stored in the client's portal. And you'll see that my reference number in Document Manager has been incremented to _2, which means that there are 2 copies of that financial report sitting in here. If I look at the different versions of that particular report, we've got the original, the unsigned version, and then we've got the one with the green pen, the signed version. And I can click in and I can open that document from within Document Manager. Yep, update my security settings as well. I can update, I can see, whoops, sorry, one too far. Digitally signed by Sam on, this one was on the 21st of September. And our digital signature panel, which is the digital signature, is shown here, and it's showing that the identity is valid. So that's great, that's awesome. What else is available in that cloud area though? So we're just going to go back to the cloud area. So at the top, we have transaction processing, tasks, documents, and advisory, and also clients. In my transaction processing, I can see all of my MYOB clients and all of my ledger clients. The MYOB clients can have bank feeds set up, and you can actually see how they are tracking. Now, Clearwater, they're all black, indicating that every month has some uncoded transactions. This would be a scenario where we might be giving the client a phone call and offer a bookkeeping type service to them to help them with doing their codings and allocations and setting up rules. Whereas Max Fabrication, they have got up until June, they've done a bank reconciliation up until June, and they've actually already allocated apart from one transaction in November. So this is really a great client. This is one that is either yourselves or the client is really working in their data on a regular basis there. And they've actually automated 86% of the transactions in the last 2 months. So this is a little bit like BankLink for those of you that are using that. It got some of the DNA in there. From here, I can drill in and I can open the file. I can set up rules, manage rules. I can see the bank transactions, and I can work through and sort and group and search for and allocate those in bulk. You can, as a partner, you'll be able to also tick, or as an advisor, you'll be able to tick and send bulk transactions through to your clients. So that's one part of the practice online. So that's showing you client accounting, right through from importing data, doing some work papers, reconciling the assets register, through to the statutory reports, sending those statutory reports through to your clients, which will save both using the portal, which save both time and also dollars. Because New Zealand Post is getting slow and also quite expensive, in my opinion, at advisor. So your clients that are using MYOB Essentials or MYOB Account Right, you can use those advisory tools over top of them. So Russell's asked, can I use the reporter if I don't have work papers? Great question, Russell. Yes, you can. What we have is it looks similar. It's a trial balance screen, and you can do your journals, but you don't need to use our work papers. So you can still do your journals in that trial balance screen that I was showing, and you can still use the statutory reporter. So you do not need to have our work papers, but hopefully you saw today that it did give you a little bit of efficiencies as well. If you do need any further information about what your next steps are as to what training or consulting you might need, then please do reach out to your client manager there. So that's all for today. So just once again, thank you very much for taking about an hour out of your day to review this Activate Client Accounting showcase. Really appreciate that time.